morning, falling to the lower edge of their nearby trading range. Canola is down $2 to $4, March down $2.70 at $481.50 per ton. Losses in Chicago soy oil futures and a firmer tone in the Canadian dollar contributed to the early selling pressure. Large canola supplies and a lack of significant end-user demand also weighed on prices. But on the other side, cold temperatures across Western Canada were said to be slowing farmer deliveries, and that provided some support. The USDA is set to release a number of much-anticipated reports later in the day, and any surprises in that data will likely sway the markets by the close. Soybeans in Chicago are holding unchanged ahead of those USDA reports to start the day. The March contract up only a half cent at $9.13 3/4 per bushel. In addition to the monthly supply-demand numbers, the USDA will also be releasing quarterly stocks data and updated production estimates that were delayed during the government shutdown. Average calls are for a slight downward revision to last year's U.S. soybean yields. Forecasted ending stocks are also expected to be revised lower, but the supply situation remains burdensome overall. Traders will be watching the export numbers closely to see what the USDA does with business to China. While there has been some movement on improving trade relations between the U.S. and China recently, the two countries have still not reached an official deal. Corn futures, they're posting small gains in early trade, March up 2 cents at $3.78 per bushel. After moving lower yesterday, corn was due for a bit of a correction as traders squared positions ahead of the USDA reports. Wheat futures are also higher to start the day, as sharp losses yesterday were deemed overdone and the futures saw a modest correction. The March contract in Chicago, it's up 7 cents at $5.20 per bushel. Kansas City March wheat up 3 cents at $4.99 per bushel. And Minneapolis spring wheat up 2 cents in the March contract at $5.66 per bushel. The USDA reports will include winter wheat acreage estimates, and that could provide some direction for the futures. Average trade guesses predict a slight decline in planted area on the year. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday morning, February 8th. In Winnipeg for Markets Farm, I'm Phil Franz-Warkentin.
It's never too early to start planning for the upcoming season. Stop by Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John during the Kick the Tires event going on now for great in-store deals and finance options on all New Holland equipment. Choose from New Holland tractors, hay and forage equipment, harvesting, seeding, spraying, or construction equipment. But it all ends March 31st, so hurry in and check out the savings during the Kick the Tires event at Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Trev Talks with your host, Trevor Boland.
Good morning and welcome to this episode of Trev Talks. We missed out last week, but I heard that Dave did a wonderful job filling in for me. We're not sure what he talked about or who he talked to, but I heard it was good. We are just getting over a freezing spell, which is pretty much across Western Canada, but it's been especially cold in the north, so it's nice to see what's going to be coming our way. But speaking of what's going to be coming our way, and speaking of kind of the west to the east, we're joined by a special guest today, Jason Corbeil. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. So you are, as your Facebook page has, United We Roll, which is a group that you were a co-organizer of that is putting together a truck rally to leave Red Deer or leave, areas, I mean, like you said, even as far as Fort St. John right here locally, and head to Ottawa to take a stand against some of the Prime Minister's latest, call it craziness, about the industry, about the oil and gas industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how long has this been in the works?
Well, I think the whole idea behind the convoys and the rallies and stuff started, late November into December. And you started to see in Grand Prairie and that area and stuff like that where convoys are starting to circle the cities and get kind of awareness out here. And then late December, we talked about Alberta knows what's going on. Northern BC, like your guys' area, everybody knows what's going on and the problems that we're having. So it's time we took this message back east and take it right to Ottawa.
which I think is phenomenal. We talked a little bit about this. Nothing says getting involved like, a few hundred or 300 trucks and people and even just the fact that you're going that far. So you're leaving. So February 13th, folks from other areas such as, Fort St. John, Grand Prairie, Edmonton, probably, Fort Mac or any of those areas, they're heading to Red Deer in order for you guys to get going on February 14th.
Yes. They're
Okay.
going to be coming down on the 13th. We have a lady in Peace River by the name of Kathy. She's kind of rallying everybody up that we have that registered for this, and they're going to kind of convoy down on the 13th to come into Red Deer, so we kind of have the awareness of the northern towns and stuff like that this is actually going to happen.
Well, and I think that's the big part, right? So, I wasn't really up on what was going on, and then a gentleman messaged me and he said, hey, you know what, there's this group, United We Roll, the official convoy for Canada. You need to get in touch with these guys or at least bring some awareness to what's going on. And that's when I reached out to you and you started to fill me in on a little bit on what you guys are doing. And I think it's more massive than what people think it is. It's more massive than what the media portrays it to be. And of course the media always has their own spins. What got you started in this? Like, was it a couple guys sitting around talking about this, or was it, the two of you going, we need to do something. We need to stand up for our industry. We need to stand up for Alberta, and we need to get the attention, in the East.
No, it definitely wasn't me that started it. I mean, Glenn Carrot, my partner in on this, has been a fairly big part of this right from the beginning. He's had his trucks in all the rallies and stuff like that. But I think it was kind of a general consensus from everybody that was around that, the word got out that we should take this to Ottawa, and it kind of flipped overnight, where people are, yeah, we need to take this. We need to voice our opinion there. And then we just kind of grew from there.
So how many trucks in total do you figure, like just as a guesstimate, how many trucks in total will be showing up in Ottawa February 19th?
I have registrations coming in pretty much every day, and now that all our permits are in place and everything is a go, but there's a lot of red tape that we had to work with, right? We're working with RCMP and OPC in Ontario, and they're helping us to be able to make sure that this actually runs smoothly. And now
safe.
that we have that, and now that we have that in place, registration seems to be picking up the pace, and more people are getting excited and involved in this. We have a lot of people in the eastern provinces that are going to be joining. If I had to guess, by the time we get there, it's probably going to be about 400 trucks.
Wow.
And I couldn't even guess on the amount of people that are coming. Like, there's busloads of people that are going to be joining us.
Really? Hey, so even people that aren't in the maybe as much as the quick or easy access to a truck, they'll be coming down on their own. And I've seen some pickup trucks. You guys have some folks that have deckled up their pickup trucks in order to come down and be part of this and probably bring a bunch of people. So I mean, we could see 400 trucks. You could probably easily see 800 to 1,000 people at Parliament for the same cause.
Oh, I think that number is probably small. It's probably going to be a lot more than that.
Oh, seriously? Wow.
Yeah, as far as people is concerned, right? The whole idea behind what we did and everything else with the United We Roll is everybody's welcome to come to this. And now we've got different associations, but it's not just oil and gas that's showing up to this. We got a farming association that's jumped on board. We've got anybody and everybody that this touches is welcome to come, to the point where I've had Quebec reach out to me, and a lot of the eastern provinces are registering with Angie Reid, which is another big part of helping me get this word out. And we're not even sure the amount of people that are going to show up to
That's incredible. So those numbers may be low, and this might be even bigger. Why do you think the media has not done anything with this? Like, of course, there's stories that always have the one side slant to it, but we haven't seen anything in the media that says, hey, you know what? There's going to be 1,000 to 1,500 people with 400 trucks showing up in Ottawa, for one singular cause, and that is to make Canada better.
Well, there's a lot of talk that the media has been bought by the government. I think that's pretty widely known now, and we think that the idea of the message that we're trying to send, that we're looking to do when we get to Ottawa, is we're trying to unite a country that's been divided for so long, and we're pretty sure that's the word that nobody wants to get out.
Hey,
I'm a firm believer that the government's always kept our country separated. That's what they've thrived on. And now that the country's starting to unite and the people are starting to stand up and talk, I think it scares the hell out of them.
I do, and I think it should, because you know what, there's nothing more scary than a country that's united, and you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because we've talked about that on the show before, where you know the East is so different than the West, and it's almost as if there's two different media spins depending on which side of the country that you live in, and of course Fort St. John, you know, Fort Nelson, Dawson Creek, our northern part of the province ties in, you know, a lot with Alberta, even sometimes more so than we do with the southern part of our own province.
Well, see, the part that I think is not so much entertaining, but it's people don't seem to understand. We've had, over the last few years, we've had, 120, 130,000 jobs?
Yes, lost. Yeah.
Right? How many of those are actually Albertans? It's probably only about 40, 45,000 are actually Albertans. Alberta is, it employs most of the country.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
agree.
I think that was a big part is, yes, the East has always been against our oil patch. And I mean, it's sad to say that that's what started this. But this affected the whole country, not just Albertans.
And continues to.
Yeah, exactly. And this is only going to trickle down further. I mean, when people out here don't have money to spend, and people that are back East aren't working out here anymore, they don't have money to spend, well, our country doesn't benefit from that.
Yeah.
So when it came to the idea of uniting our country, and taking that to a whole new level, it was easy to do because a lot of people back East already knew of our problem because they were part of it.
Agreed. Now, I'm imagining you're getting some welcome receptions from, you know, northern BC, of course, because we know there's trucks coming from these areas and people coming from this area, and Alberta and Saskatchewan for sure, because they're of that same kind of belief. What's it been like now for, you know, going forward, like Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, you know, into those areas? What kind of responses or support have you had from, you know, municipalities or other organizations that want to get on board? Has it been good?
We were actually getting a warmer welcome in Ottawa than I thought we would ever get. Ontario itself, like the trucking association there, they're going to be joining us with a bunch of trucks. There's a lot of different services in and around Ottawa that are going to be joining us for this as well. They protest in Ottawa all the time, so they're jumping in with us to make that voice a little bigger. I actually learned, because if you look at everything that's going on out here, we don't hear what's going on in Quebec.
Yeah.
They don't hear what's going on out here. Now that we've reached out and we've actually gotten into Quebec and they understand what we're doing, there is an extreme amount of support coming out of Quebec for this as well.
That's huge. See, it's, again, something we don't hear this side of the country. You know, it's just kind of, it's overshadowed, right? We're led to
Absolutely.
believe, that you know, the entire province of Quebec wants nothing to do with oil and gas, and you know, all the things that we can provide in the West between BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, and we can provide that literally across our great country if there was a form of unity that comes from something like this.
Absolutely. And Quebec, you hear that they're against the oil and gas industry and everything else, and it doesn't matter who you talk to over there. The only people that are against the oil and gas industry is the politicians that are there, because the people themselves want it. They know they benefit from it too.
So it's very much time for the same thing to happen in Quebec, where the people stand up and let their politicians know that it's not what they want, it's what the people want, and it's what the people need.
Exactly.
That's going to be huge.
From my understanding, they've already started that.
Good. So this will tie in quite nicely to that.
Absolutely.
So before this all started, we talked a little bit about this, just kind of, you know, steamrolling as big as it did. You guys have got your website, your Facebook page, United We Roll, the official convoy for Canada, which you are an admin of. I was reading a lot of comments on that. And then, of course, some news stories. Like we talked about earlier, you know, CBC rolled out a story in January and Global had one in January. And they weren't the type of story, if you will, quote, end quote, that they should be in. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a quick break, but then we're going to get into those and into the tie-in that they've tried to make to this whole yellow vest campaign at the same time and that kind of stuff. So stay with us. We'll be right back. If you're watching us live on Facebook or if you're listening to us live on Moose FM or any of the other avenues that we're out there, we will be back shortly after this commercial with Jason.
Dr. Kevin Wong has been coming to Fort St. John since 2017, and ever since, all of his cosmetic Botox and filler clinic dates have been fully booked. Dr. Wong brings his highly specialized training in Botox and filler injections to Fort St. John every month at affordable prices. UBC trained in head and neck and facial plastic surgery, Dr. Kevin Wong works out of Dr. Strasden and Sanga's Orthodontic Clinic. To book, call today at 1-855-515-SKIN or visit rejuviderm.ca.
As a proud member of our community, the Fort St. John Co-op is always striving to serve you better. So that's why they give you a lifetime of rewards when you become a co-op member. Enjoy benefits like high-quality products and services at competitive prices, the potential for annual cashback, and your equity that grows over time. Plus, the Fort St. John Co-op gives you the opportunity to get involved as a member owner. To learn more about becoming a co-op member, stop by the Fort St. John Co-op or visit fsjcoop.com.
Everyone struggles with computers. New shortcuts, plug-and-play devices that don't play when you plug them, and more. Sit back and learn some stupid computer tricks with Vern from Computer Emporium across from the Northern Grand Hotel on 100th Avenue in Fort St. John.
Do you have a laptop or a tablet that has a broken screen and thought that the price of repair is beyond the value of the entire laptop? Well, screens have come way down in price in the past few years. If the rest of the laptop still functions the way it should, usually the best solution is to have the screen replaced. It's less expensive than replacing the entire laptop by far. The friendly and professional staff at Computer Emporium can replace your broken screen at a price that makes sense. If you have a broken screen on your laptop, phone, or tablet, see Computer Emporium on 100th Avenue for a screen replacement quote. You'll be glad you did.
Stupid computer tricks with Vern from Computer Emporium, helping you use computers more efficiently. Is heard Monday to Saturday on Moose FM.
Hi, Vern here from Computer Emporium. The advantage of seeing us about your computer needs rather than a box store is we understand your needs, your language, and your budget. We will help you find the right solution and talk in a language that you can understand. See the professionals at Computer Emporium, helping you use computers more efficiently.
Millions of dollars in assets are being sold every Wednesday with Auction Time. Book your equipment to sell through Rhythm Auctions during their huge online equipment auctions happening every single Wednesday. Rhythm Auctions is now accepting listings for their March 30th consignment sale. It starts at 9:30 a.m. in Fort St. John at 12651 on the West Bypass Road. Indoors and outside sale. Book your equipment for their huge spring sale in Fort St. John or call 250-261-4198 to consign your equipment. Buy and sell with confidence at Rhythm Auctions. Visit rhythmauctions.com.
At Peace Pharmacy, we help you save money by giving you the best service at competitive prices. If you need a prescription filled, have home health care needs, or just have a question for our certified staff, we have you covered. For fast, friendly service, visit Peace Pharmacy beside the ABC Medical Clinic on 101st Ave.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. This is Trev Talks with Trevor Bolin.
Welcome back. Again, if you're listening to us live, we are joined by Jason Corbeil, or if you were listening to us on Facebook, of course, we're streamed on many different sites on Facebook, and we'll be on YouTube shortly after, which you'll find on all of our sites. Jason, we were talking a little bit off air. Alberta's got an election coming up. You've 4 years ago, the NDP got in after a 40-year reign of the Conservatives or Progressive Conservatives. What does this election potentially mean for your guys' group? I mean, it's not far off, and I think it's going to be an election that is very widely watched across Canada.
Well, the one thing that for Alberta specifically, obviously our oil and gas and our farming is a huge deal. And this last 4 years has been, she's done everything to dismantle it.
Yeah.
So we need our government to change. I mean, granted, we need to change, and we need to see Jason go in a better direction, and I hope that he really does it. I mean, I'm a huge supporter, and I'm not going to tell anybody which way to go, but I'm a little beside myself on watching how people are torn with what she's doing versus what should be happening.
Yeah. But I mean, and again, I've been watching it fairly closely too, and it's amazing because she's had 4 years to literally deal with three problems. One was Trans Mountain, one was, more refineries, and one was more access to get your guys's, Alberta's people's product to market. And it's, to me, it just seems like in the last month is when she's gone, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work for you guys. And I mean, that's typical of politicians when they get near silly season, but it's too late. Why was this not happening 4 years ago?
Well, if you actually pay attention, what is she actually for? She says she's for the pipeline, she's for the refineries and stuff like that. But if you actually pay attention to the backdoor thing, she's also trying to make the west side of our province a provincial park and commercialize it. How many pipelines go through provincial parks?
Yeah, zero.
So, yes, she's saying she's for the people, so she gains a lot of respect and stuff like that. But if you actually pay attention to what she's doing on the other side, with the other hand, she's trying to cut off our access.
Yeah, and we've got a very similar
thing
happening here.
It's a smoke and mirror show is all it is.
Agreed, it is. Agreed. And that election's going to come fast. I'm sure for people in Alberta's industry, it can't come fast enough, but it's going to be nice to see this play out. And I think it's going to be beneficial. And then the other thing, too, is I mean, you guys are in Ottawa February 19th. February 22nd is when the NEB is supposed to come back with its final reports and all their final information on the Trans Mountain Pipeline. So I think that tie-in is going to be quite nicely there as well.
That's exactly why the timing is there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. So I mean, in hopes, I mean, us in northern BC, very much we're in favor of. I think there was a statistics that were done, and it was overwhelming support from northern BC for the Trans Mountain, and unfortunately there was some not the same kind of support some places in the south. But that's, I think, again, media led, where people just don't understand that it's been there for 63 years, and the fact that we need to worry about Canada first. I see Washington lately getting on board that, they're going to put the funds and do as much as they can to try to stop this. Well, of course they are. The United States has become a net exporter of energy resources for the first time in history, knocking Canada from its throne, if you will.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem we're having, is we're letting another country dictate how we run things.
You bet we are, and that needs to stop. Well, I mean, even right from the politicians dictating what they feel needs to happen without listening to the people. So we mentioned earlier, now January 25th, CBC did this story and tied you guys in directly with the Yellow Vest group, and we've had some comments on Twitter, and we had some comments on the Facebook page about, is this tied directly into the Yellow Vests? Is there the anti-immigration message that comes with it? What do you say to people who ask that when they're looking to join the group, or maybe cautious because it may reflect something they don't believe?
Well, and that's exactly where we stood and everything. This started off as the Yellow Vest convoy, and I'm not going to take away from the Yellow Vest because the media's portrayed them to be such a bad group. And if you actually pay attention to the posts on Facebook, the people that go live and everything, Red Deer's a prime example. They're a fun group that are just sick and tired, right? Everybody's standing up for something, but they're not in a violent way or a disrespectful way. Everybody's just trying to band together. This is about uniting the country. Now, I wish myself that Canada would have adapted something other than the Yellow Vest, but it is what it is. When we decided to split off from that group, just because some differences were there, and there's a lot of people that were too iffy on joining the group and stuff like that because of the Yellow Vest, we broke off and we started United We Roll. So this convoy is for Canadians. It's not for one group or another. It's for everybody. So when we put that through, we still have a lot of Yellow Vest support that's going to be in this, because they understand that the mass majority of them understand that this is a Canadian movement. This isn't one specific group. Now we got other groups that were a little iffy on Yellow Vest being involved that are going to understand that, okay, this is for everyone. They don't have to wear Yellow Vest to be a part of this, so they can be there to support the movement itself. So now we got other groups that are jumping on board as well. So we kind of got away from the media as far as that goes.
Which I think that's great. So you mentioned earlier you've got trucking associations, you've got farming associations, you've of course got oil, you've got gas, you've got pipelines, you've got the maintenance end of it. So it's really wrapping in everybody who believes not in one specific issue, but in the betterment of Canada for Canadians.
Well, and that's the big thing that we got to start doing and I've been watching over the last year and a half especially, Canadians aren't put first anymore.
They're not?
We're not being taken care of.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
It's time that we put Canadians first and understand that we are a self-sufficient country. We could take care of ourselves, and we don't.
No.
And that needs to change.
Yeah.
That's another part of the government that just needs to go away.
Agreed. I agree 100%. What is your ideal outcome? You guys arrive February 19th in Ottawa. You're there the 19th and the 20th, a couple days before the Trans Mountain NEB decision. What would be ideal for your, as you envision it, for the 19th and 20th in Ottawa at Parliament with 400 trucks and 1,500 people?
But what I want to see is the country to wake up and understand that we are standing up, that we are trying to unite the country, not politically, but as the people go. And the more people we get there, the more people we have involved, it's just going to gain us traction. And the more the country comes together, that's when the changes are actually going to be made.
Agreed.
Do I think that this is going to happen on the 19th? To be realistic for me to say that we're going to get there, we're going to push some agendas and stuff like that, and it's just going to happen. But if we can unite the country and make people aware that we can stand up to the country, to the government, I think that's going to be bigger later on.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you have any? Has there been any MLAs or MPs or anybody that have reached out to be at either stops along the way or to be at the ultimate decision while they're down there? Because I believe they are sitting during your guys' arrival time, so that the House will be sitting during that time.
We have sent out a few invites. I know we got a few more to set out, but the big thing is the message that we have to get across is if any politician shows up to speak to the people, whether I have 1,000 people there or 100,000 people there, they're not to speak there politically. They're to talk to the people. This is a blue-collar agenda that everybody is there mainly because they're hurting, but they understand where our country's headed, and they're going to make sure that they have to speak to the people and why they're there, not on a political agenda. So when it comes to them reaching out, and I know a few have, that's the message we're getting across, and it's either they're going to get on board with the message that we want to get across, or they're not going to be able to speak, because we're there because we're unhappy with the government. I don't want another politician jumping in there to try and sell the dream on why they should vote for him.
Yeah, agreed. Which, I mean, again, we've got a federal election coming up this fall. You guys have your election in Alberta coming up, even sooner than that. So, of course, that's the top thing on politicians' minds right now is elections, and hopefully they're hoping for re-elections, or, in Jason Kenney and the UPC is a new election. So it's keeping the politicians out of it. It's the support for making Canada better. If people want to get involved, they can check out your Facebook page, United We Roll, which is the official convoy for Canada. Is there other forms, other media or social media that you guys are active on right now?
No, Facebook is the biggest one right now, just because it's easier to control. I mean, granted, we're being controlled on the other side of things, but Facebook seems to reach out to a lot of people because everybody sits on their phones nowadays.
Yeah.
I know that it's starting to go out on Twitter. We do have a handle on Twitter that I can dig up for you, too. One of our, Jason LeBlanc, is in Saskatchewan. He's part of the farming association there. He was an auctioneer for Rich Brothers. He ties in oil field and farming industry very well. And he started a Twitter account for us and a handle for us, and is starting to push that on Twitter as well. I'm not familiar with it myself, but
for sure.
Old school still.
Have you guys reached out to the Conservative Party of Canada at all? Andrew Scheer, his sitting MPs. Have you reached out to them at all yet? Just because I know, there was a few of the truck convoys that happened in Alberta that Andrew was present at and very vocal at. There was one where I believe they got blocked and even walked it to get into it. Has there been any tie-in there at all? Because the Conservatives have come out as, in favor and against all these bills that are going to try to hurt pipelines and hurt industry. And I think they may also be a voice, especially with the House sitting right then.
Well, I know that some messages have gone out. I've reached out to a couple of them myself, and there's a few others that, like Haley, went and sent out a few emails and stuff inviting a couple of people.
Excellent.
I can't just drop names right now because I don't know who's going to show up and who isn't.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
But I know Andrew Scheer is going to be speaking in Moosomin as we drive by.
Oh, perfect.
We leave Regina on the 15th, and he's going to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning in Moosomin, which we're driving right by where he's going to be. He's going to hear us regardless.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I'm sure they're paying attention. And myself, I mean, I'm a huge conservative supporter, right? So that's where I'm going to go. But it's got to be the same message with them. I can't favor them over anybody else and say that you guys can push your political agenda. I'd love to see Jason there to speak, And I'd love to see Andrew there to speak as well, but they got to speak to the people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, at the end of the day, this isn't about politicians. This isn't about elections. This is about uniting the people of Canada from coast to coast to get change. And I think, it's funny you say that they should be paying attention, or they may be paying attention. And I think if they aren't paying attention today, I think on February 19th, they certainly will be paying attention. I hope you guys get the media coverage that you deserve for this going on. And it's not the typical, reporting that sometimes happens with events like this, because I think that, the government should be concerned, and people fear the government, and the government, does what they want to do. But at the end of the day, when people come together, the government should be very scared.
I think they should be too, and it's about time that they learn that they work for us and we don't work for them.
I agree 100%. Well, Jason, it has been awesome having you on the show. I wish you guys huge success. Let's keep in touch as this rolls out, just so we can kind of update people on the success of your guys' event. And I wish you thousands of people, and I'm going to love seeing the change that you're going to create.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, drive safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. This has been another edition of Trev Talks. Thank you for joining us live, or if you're joining us Facebook Live, or later on YouTube, or any of the podcasts that we have. Check out United We Roll, the official convoy for Canada. I think people taking a stand, you need to watch them, get involved, ask the questions, and make sure that we get the change we deserve here in Canada. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Trev Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.